are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys. Locked On Cowboys.
Welcome. It's the Locked On Cowboys podcast. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is a very relaxed, calm, cool, and collected Landon McCool. Follow him on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, what's going on, sir?
Chill vibes. That's what's going on.
Vibes.
We're chilling in the bye week, 5-1, enjoying our tea as you can see. And you know, listen, after breaking down the All-22 and coach's tape of the New England Patriots game, I definitely felt like there was cause for a little celebration, a little vacation, a little time to relax and enjoy the video.
A little R&R here for the Cowboys and for us, but we're going to get to the All-22. There's a lot of fun takeaways from that All-22. And yes, we're going to wear the shirts and the sunglasses the entire podcast.
That's right, the entire podcast. So I hope you guys are ready for this.
Yeah, get over it. All right, let's get to some of our All-22 notes. And Landon, I just want to start with some overarching things. So what were some of your biggest takeaways from this tape after you watched it?
Well, I think, the biggest thing, honestly, is just the kind of chess match that was going on between Kellen Moore and Dak and versus Bill Belichick. It was as advertised. I mean, they continually were trying to do different things. They were continually trying to do different things to slow things down for the Cowboys. And the Cowboys had answers for most of everything. I think you could watch how quarter by quarter, it seemed, they would try a different plan. They would try to take away something for the Cowboys, whether it's, they started out, I think, stacking the box and showing a lot of looks of, to try to stop the run. Then the Cowboys would adjust, and then the Patriots would adjust. And suddenly now the Cowboys are eating up the flats in flat passes, right? And I think the whole third quarter, whatever adjustment the Patriots made left the flats open for Zeke and Pollard. And I think, Zeke had like 7 catches for like 55 yards. We don't even talk about it, but it's like, it's just stuff like that. Just the kind of okay, you're going to do this. Well, I'm going to do that. All right, well, you're going to do that. Now I'm going to do this. And it was just kind of constant throughout the game. And then, I think the other element that was difficult for the Patriots to kind of overcome was it wasn't just the chess match between Kellen and Belichick. Then you get Dak changing all the angles by breaking the pocket and creating space for his wide receivers. It was just a masterful performance by this offense in this game.
So I don't know if you caught this going into the second half, and I don't even remember who the sideline reporter is, so I apologize. But they said the Cowboys spent all week basically creating 2 different game plans because they wanted to have after the first half something totally different for Bill Belichick to have to game plan because they didn't want him to try to make adjustments based on what he saw in the first half. So an entirely different game script. And we kind of saw that, right? Just different personnel groupings, some different route combinations. It was really, really fascinating to see the kind of chess match here between Kellen Moore and Bill Belichick. It was a lot of fun.
Real quick, one of the things that, we talked about and the people had talked about a lot was just the kind of ability of Belichick to pull something out, at the end of the game or at critical situations that no one is expecting. And I feel like the Cowboys kind of turned the tables on him a little bit, right? Because it felt like at the end of the game, when they're driving to score, to kick the field goal, and then in the overtime when they're driving to score, it's like the Cowboys suddenly pulled out all their man beater concepts, right? And they have mesh going across the field. They're running crossing routes. You got guys running free. It was so masterful for them to say, oh yeah, by the way, now deal with this. And right when the moment they need it, it was very Belichickian, if that's a word.
It is. It's a word, right? What I noticed? They didn't really run any screens in this game. I think the Patriots are so well coached against screens that the Cowboys just figured, you know what, it's not worth our time here.
They tried a couple, and they worked very poorly. What they were trying to do instead was they did a lot of, and we talked about this just a second ago, a lot of throws to the pass where they cleared out, throws to the flat, I'm sorry, where they cleared out everything underneath by sending deep routes and then having Zeke kind of run out. And then after that, if you saw, there was a period, where they were trying to do kind of, I don't know if they're called tunnel screens or not really, because they were kind of en route, but like you saw where it was almost like a slant flat, except the guys weren't running slants. They were just kind of running up and then blocking essentially.
Yep.
And then they trying to run the tight end outside or I think Zeke was one of the running backs one time they tried to run that way. So they were trying different things to try to create easy passes to take advantage of the blitz. And they were having success. I mean, Dak had an incredible game against the blitz. And if you look at his numbers, when he was pressured, that's, when he had some of his best throws without a doubt.
All right, I want to continue to talk about the offense, but before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every single time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code Touchdown and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. You can cash out at any time using your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code Touchdown to get 50 cents off every single gallon. That's promo code Touchdown. All right, Landon, let's talk about that offense. I want to talk about Tyron Smith because I've never seen a Hall of Fame offensive lineman get less respect from the officials than what Tyron does. Both of his holding calls, I guess one was more of a, I don't know if it was a holding, it was an illegal hands in the face. But the first one on Matt Judon, first of all, do you know that's not supposed to be called a penalty when a guy's trying to rip his arm up through? Like, they got rid of that this offseason, and even then it wasn't a hold. Tyron's technique is so good where he kind of waits, and then just grabs you right at the end. Judon kind of snaps his head back to exaggerate, and he gets a holding call. I just don't get it. What does Tyron need to do to stop being on the officials' bad sides here?
I don't know. I mean, this feels like they specifically legislated this kind of move, and this is not the first time I've seen it called this year too. So I don't know if they just need to like refresh the refs on this, but there's a very clear reason as to why they did this, and why they got rid of this as a penalty. So I would love for them to not call it anymore.
It's so frustrating.
It is frustrating. And again, like it just felt like these were all just mechanisms to keep the game close at certain points, because
you mean America's Game of the Week on Sunday with the most viewers they've ever had since 2015. I'm shocked, Landon, that you would say that.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what a weird coincidence that would happen.
27 million viewers in the last 3 minutes of that game, by the way. Just putting that out there.
That's just crazy. Yeah, and I mean, I think you go back and watch the tape, and when you watch the tape, there's no audio and there's no commentary. There's really no in between. It's just kind of the situation by looking at the scoreboard and then the play. You watch that, and the Cowboys just absolutely dominated that tape, and there's very little refereeing in there. I mean, you obviously see the results when you see the setups of the plays, but it's just when you take away all that other stuff out of it and just watch what the individual plays in a row, the Cowboys were absolutely dominating that game. They definitely had some defensive slip-ups at points, but I think for the most part, you take the refs and the self-shooting stuff that is a lot of times tied to the refs out of the picture, and the Cowboys definitely just look like the much better team of those two teams playing on Sunday.
What about Conor Williams in this game?
I thought that he played a pretty decent game. I mean, certainly better than I expect going in to watch, just based on kind of what we heard and during the game and the penalties and the stuff. I mean, the holding calls that he got on him were
bad. They're bad,
man. Pretty ticky-tacky.
Well, I think the one was bad. The one especially where it was right at the end of the game. He didn't need to do it. Right. That's the worst one. Right, with the final drive of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like it it just got away from him. The guy started to separate a little bit, and he was
Yep.
he let his hands. He should have just let go. But yeah, I thought for the most part the offensive line played really well.
They did.
They did a really good job in protections of kind of mixing things up and keeping New England off their toes. They weren't afraid to use 5-man protections in passing situations. And a lot of times they guessed right, and then obviously they were mixing it in with max protect in 12 personnel to kind of allow those longer developing plays against the blitz to happen. So there were just other times when Dak knew that there was a free runner coming, and they would run some of those plays like we talked about earlier, like the kind of out behind receivers that was like kind of a pseudo hot route, and really until New England and Belichick kind of made an adjustment to take away the flats or start at least paying attention to the hot routes. The Cowboys were able to get kind of really efficient, easy money plays by just kind of dumping it out short to the receivers and letting them break tackles.
Am I allowed to say good things about Ezekiel Elliott? Like, is that?
Oh, wow. I don't know. That's your call, buddy. I mean, yeah.
I thought he was fantastic in pass pro in this game. I really did. Like, he was so good at finding the guy that Belichick was going to send. He was so good at just kind of recognizing pre-snap who it was going to be. And then he made the blocks. I just thought he was really good.
Yeah, he did. And I thought that he, there was a couple different runs where, again, he sees it developing so well, and he waits patiently for the alley to open up, and then he just zips right through. So he's running in peak Zeke form, like rookie year, second year form. It really is fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. I thought Pollard ran really well in this one too. There wasn't a ton of running room for him in the middle, but I thought he was good. Any other notes on the offense before we move on?
I will say, kind of on the Patriots side of our offense, I was surprised that they played so much man coverage. I mean, I think I understand that they are a man coverage team. They're one of the highest, if not the highest, man coverage teams in the NFL. But I still was surprised that they decided to go that route against these receivers. And
I think it's because they didn't trust their pass rush to get home at all. They really didn't, And Belichick usually isn't a heavy blitzing team. So you're going to use a lot of zone. I kind of feel like you need to use some of those zone blitz concepts. I just don't think he trusted his pass rush at all in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, and to be even further fair to the Cowboys and Dak and to the offensive line, you didn't see the jailbreaks or the kind of confusion that you usually see against a Patriots defense. So the Cowboys clearly came into this game extremely prepared for what they were facing and didn't really seem, thrown off by any of the major shifts or changes that happened during a game when you play a Belichick defense.
Yeah, I just thought the offense was really good. I thought this was one of CeeDee Lamb's best games for a couple different reasons. Not only the game-winning touchdown, but the fade route that he had to catch the touchdown. That was a much harder catch than I think people know.
It was a much harder throw than people realize.
I thought when Dak threw it, he threw it out of bounds. I'm like,
throwing a fade from a shotgun is not recommended.
No,
it's not easy. And
I'm saying
that was an incredible
CeeDee
throw.
made it look way too easy on that play. Because that is an incredibly hard catch to kind of grab it over your shoulders and get your feet in. So I also thought he did a really good job of making plays after the catch. We mentioned kind of these tunnel screens that weren't really tunnel screens, but he had a couple times where he got the ball, made a guy miss and got up the field. I think it was in the last drive of the game in overtime before they scored the touchdown. He had a run, caught a ball, had a nice run after the catch to kind of get them past the 50-yard line. He's a really, really good player that seems to be becoming more comfortable in this offense.
Last thing on the offense before we move on is I did notice going back on all the short yardage is clearly where the Cowboys struggled in this game against New England. And that's not a surprise. New England is one of the best in the league at that. But I thought it was interesting that I went back and watched and on basically every short yardage down, the Patriots were having their defensive line just basically submarine all the interior offensive line just to create a bunch of clutter in the middle of the field so that you couldn't create lanes to run through the end zone. So it was interesting that the one short yardage situation that seemed to work when they ran the football is when Zeke took the ball, saw that the middle was cluttered, and then bounced it back outside and was able to get the corner and get the first down. So I thought that was an interesting plan by the Patriots.
if there's one thing the Cowboys do need to fix over this bye week is their red zone struggles. Even going back to like 2019 when Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator, they've really struggled in the red zone, and they've got to become more efficient there because when they get to some of these big games, they can't be settling for field goals. They can't be turning the ball over inside the 10-yard line. Got to be better there.
I mean, they almost scored 3 touchdowns on that one drive that they didn't score any touchdown. I mean,
I know,
Cedric,
it's
I
incredible.
went back and watched that Cedric Wilson catch on the 1-yard line like 4 times because I was pretty convinced that he actually scored on that play.
He's closer than what they marked it. I'll tell you that much for sure.
Absolutely, because he didn't even seem down immediately when they and I'll tell you what, same thing with Dalton Schultz on that one play where he got rolled over and he landed on his feet. They shouldn't have called him down. I'm sorry. We have to add one more thing before we get on.
We got time.
I noticed that, and I've been noticing this for a while, and I don't know if this is a Cowboys thing or if this is a Dak Prescott thing, but one thing that Dak has really done well is on like out routes, any route where they have a wide receiver going one direction, right? Like it kind of in a long way. Dak has done a really good job of putting the ball on their back shoulder. So like if they're running an out, like he does a really good job of putting the ball on their back shoulder, which allows the receiver while they're catching the ball to change their momentum back the other direction. And then having the defender kind of over pursue the other way.
Yeah, there's some dangers to that. There's some danger if you throw that too far inside.
The tip, yeah.
It gets if you throw it too far inside, it can be a pick six the other way. But if you're trying to maximize yards after catch, that's how you throw that ball, right?
Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, CeeDee Lamb, each one of those guys had at least one catch where they're running an out. Dak puts the ball on them in such a way that they are forced to stop their momentum. And during the act of the catch, they're already changing their momentum to the other direction while the defender is, over pursuing, blowing past them the other way. It's really impressive.
I know for a fact that's something that the Cowboys work on in practice because that's really a staple of their offense is catching the ball, get upfield as quickly as possible. We've seen them do this for a while. Like Cole Beasley used to be really, really good at this, is kind of catching the ball, ducking onto that first guy, and then getting up the field. So it was nice to see that again on Sunday.
Yeah, it was.
All right, we're going to talk about the defense, Landon, because I've got some interesting notes on the defense. But before we do that, I just want to talk to you guys about McDonald's. This episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. I had a sausage McGriddle this morning for breakfast. Absolutely phenomenal. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family from the community can come together. A big thank you to all of our friends at McDonald's for always being there. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. There you go. That's about as close as you're going to get to me singing on this podcast.
It's pretty good. We're going to need to make a ringtone out of that, I think, at some point.
Also, Built Bar. Listen, shout out to Built Bar. I got a special package in the mail yesterday. Coconut brownie chunk. They sent me a little 6-pack sampler. So shout out to Built Bar. If you want to try some of their fantastic protein bars, go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you will get 15% off your next box at BuiltBar.com. Highly, highly recommend the coconut brownie chunk. They've got a cookie dough one out. The
cookie dough one I had yesterday is so good, man.
Good,
it's so good. Yeah.
Coconut's also just one of my favorites. So many good ones. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys defense. Up and down in this one. I mean, there was some drives that they looked really good, some drives where they didn't. I want to start with Trayvon Diggs. I think if KZ's just not on the field on that Mac Jones throw to Kendrick Bourne, I think he intercepts that ball. I really do. I think Diggs is tracking it the whole way, but he kind of sees KZ, and I think he's like, "Oh, KZ's going to get this one."
Yeah,
and it's just miscommunicated. I just think that's what happened.
And if you watch, actually, right as the play happens, like right as the ball is being catched, you see Diggs kind of turn to KZ. And with his hands like this, like almost like I thought you had this, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, like it's man free. It's pretty clear.
That's KZ's fault.
Yeah, I would say it's KZ's fault.
But Diggs, I mean, I think Diggs could still be aggressive. Like, just go get the ball.
Sure,
you know?
And I think next time he will.
I think he will too. I don't think he's going to worry about the safeties behind him. No. Defensive line. It was really interesting how they used some of these guys. And actually, we saw a clip from the DallasCowboys.com in their little mic'd up session where the defensive line coach is showing, they're telling a series where Bohana's going to be the 3 and Osa's going to be the nose tackle. And I liked how the Cowboys kind of mixed and matched their defensive line in this game to stop the rushing attack, and it worked. Like in the second half, they were far better against the run. I just thought it was interesting how the Cowboys have a lot of movable, interchangeable pieces on the defensive line, and they haven't really had that before.
Yeah, it was interesting because they came out in kind of the big nickel, which is really what they would prefer to be in as opposed to base, right? And New England seemed pretty hell bent on trying to make Dallas pay for that. They wanted to try to run power. They were trying to get to the edges, attacking the second level, which is in this case is a safety. And an undersized fast linebacker. So I think that they had some success kind of doing that early on, attacking the edges, and then the Cowboys made some adjustments up front. Really it felt like the Cowboys weren't able to run their defense early on because they couldn't get New England in the third down. And I think that's really, once they started getting New England into third downs, you started to see some of the more exotic stuff, the overloading on one side, the stunts and games, the testing different gaps. And I think that, ultimately what you mentioned is what kind of stemmed the tide there, right? They were able to shift their defensive line a little bit more. I thought Carlos Watkins.
That was my next note. I thought this was the best game he's had so far with the
best
Cowboys.
game he's had since he's been here, without a doubt.
And Basham, that was the other one.
Basham had a really good game too.
I thought those guys were good.
I thought, Watkins specifically near the second half, near the end of the game, really started to figure out what they were doing to him in power in the middle. It was doing a great job of sorting through trash, not getting caught up, and finding his way into the alley just to prevent the runs. Outside of that, I don't think New England wanted. Not that the Dallas has got a totally fearsome pass rush at this point. I mean, I think Randy Gregory's playing really well, and I think you can get a lot out of Micah Parsons. But it's New England didn't want to have any part of it. There was a lot of quick game stuff. They were losing the battle at the line of scrimmage on pass plays.
On passing plays, yes.
On the passing plays really badly, to the point where they weren't even attempting very much down the field. So I think that is why they almost got kind of lulled into sleep to a large degree when that 75-yard pass play happened, because they hadn't really been attempting anything like that, because every time they tried to get the ball down the field, they were either having to use max protect to make sure that Mac could stay up, or Mac was getting murdered by Randy Gregory. So I think that there was a lot of just trying to get the ball out of their hands quickly, be efficient, and kind of start taking slashes out of the Cowboys defense. And then once the game kind of started to change and the score started to kind of go the Cowboys' way, that's when they felt like, okay, well, we need to start opening up and start throwing the ball a little bit more down the field.
All right, I got a somewhat negative thought from this game. I think I might be done with Keanu Neal right now. The last two games have not been very good, Landon, and I think I'm at the point where I'd rather just see Jabril Cox out there. Like, it's pretty clear he's the future anyways at linebacker. Keanu Neal's not playing well enough that I feel like he has to be on the field. He didn't play all that many snaps. I think 31 snaps in this game, but is there really a difference between Jabril Cox and Keanu Neal at this stage? Probably not, right?
I mean, we have to see. That's the thing. We haven't even really seen Keanu Neal in defense. So I can't just sign off on him completely taking over his snaps yet without really kind of seeing an increase on defensive snaps. I would love to see him get worked in more in packages.
Jabril Cox, yes.
Yeah. Jabril Cox be worked in more in packages just to kind of see him deployed.
What I'm saying is I don't think Keanu Neal has been impressive enough for me to keep Jabril Cox off the field. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I agree. Yeah. And I think, it's time to see what Cox can do as a defender and not just a special teamer. And I think that, he's earned that to a large degree in some of his play. I mean, the goal line play when he got out there last week.
Well, it's just like Keanu Neal on that one. I think it was, the touchdown throw to Hunter Henry. He wasn't really all that close, even on that one. It's just, I'd rather go with a young kid that's going to be here for the next couple of years rather than an older veteran on a 1-year deal. You know, that's not to say that you should
Henry.
bench Keanu Neal.
No doubt. Henry definitely pushed off on that touchdown. But yes, yeah. But your larger point definitely stands.
Did they call a flag out or the?
You know what, they didn't. It was weird. No, I agree. Like, there's certainly nothing in Neal's game at this point that should be preventing Cox from getting snaps and working his way into the defense.
I also just think it's better for the team long term. Like, we get into December, how nice would it be if, Jabril Cox has 250 defensive snaps under his belt and Keanu Neal has 450, and you can just, when injuries hit, you can have guys that are comfortable that have been playing. I just haven't been all that impressed with the linebacker play this year outside of Michael Parsons. That's really what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right, a couple more things. Anthony Brown is having one of the better years of his career. Like, this game wasn't a phenomenal game from him, but it wasn't bad either. Like, really tackling well. Like, that's one of the things I really noticed about him is he just doesn't miss tackles anymore, which is fantastic. We were thinking this year, if he's not awful as a cornerback too, that would be a win. I think he's been pretty serviceable in it. So I just want to give credit to Anthony Brown.
Absolutely. I think he hasn't even been replaceable, replacement level necessarily. I think you're going to want competition because you're excited about what Joseph can bring you in the future. But you're not forcing Joseph into a bad situation because Brown is so bad. And that's all you can ask. If you're not going to have Joseph be the type of player who, steps into training camp and takes that job from day one, I think the next best scenario is that Brown plays at such a level that you don't feel the need to force Joseph on the field. You can slow roll his development until he's comfortable. Then you can replace him. And still, Brown's going to play a ton. Even when if Joseph takes that spot, it's not like there aren't a ton of snaps to go around in the cornerback position. So we needed Brown to be playing well regardless. So the fact that he is doing so and he's doing it as cornerback too is really good news for this team.
Now, if you are a pessimistic person or a negative person, you could say, well, the Cowboys drafted 3 defensive backs this year, Kelvin Joseph, Nahshon Wright, and Israel Mukuamu, and they played a combined 0 snaps last week. But if you are a person that actually watches the games, you could say that's great, right? Because now you're not exposing these young defensive backs to, big time games yet. You're letting them practice. You're letting them get comfortable in the scheme. I think that's fantastic. And I do think you're going to see more of, I don't know about Nahshon Wright, but you'll see Kelvin Joseph here in the next couple of weeks. And it'll be good because he's not going to be in over his head, right? He might play 15 snaps a game, and that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. Trayvon Diggs didn't have that opportunity last year. Like, he got thrown into the fire and really struggled in the first 2 months of the season. It was only after he got hurt and got to sit for a little bit and watch that he started to play well. I think that's it's one of the best parts about this Cowboys season so far is that Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, Maurice Kennedy have all played well enough that you haven't had to rush anybody else out onto the field. Absolutely.
And I think that's, we're not going to get upset about a lack of rookie experience when the veterans in front of them are playing well. There's just not really a reason to get upset about that. The rookies will develop. There's plenty of snaps to go around. Again, 17 game season. There's plenty of opportunity. Give them the chance to grow in a proper way that builds confidence and not, we've seen it before with rookies at all positions. You throw them out before they're ready. They lose confidence. Some of them can gain it back. Some of them return, but some of them don't. Some of them just aren't ever the same player. So I think this is good. This is a good way to kind of roll these guys in at their own pace and at a pace that the Cowboys are comfortable with too, because the level of play in the defensive backfield has been higher than expected.
Last thing I want to mention, we've got a full-blown just committee at safety right now. We saw KZ play like 50 snaps in this one. We saw Jaron Kearse play like 53 snaps. Donovan Wilson working back from an injury, saw 7 snaps.
Saw some flashes there too. It was good to see him back. He was knifing back in the backfield, tackling guys, tracking them down from behind, in pursuit. He's going to work his way back in really nicely on the other side of the box.
14 snaps for Donovan Wilson. We saw 19 from Malik Hooker. You can tell that I'm on vacation mode right now. But no, it's a full-blown committee, and it's great because they're going to be able to kind of mix and match these guys depending on the matchup as we get into the season. And because it's such a long year, you're going to need all these guys like we've already seen with Donovan Wilson and that kind of stuff. So just really, really nice to see. Any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I mean, I think, this was just a joy to watch. I thought that even the defensive tape would be awful to watch, but it really wasn't so bad. And I think that once the Cowboys kind of were able to even things out a little bit, they figured out how to stop the run. They had some nice stops in a row. There's good stuff to watch on both sides of the ball in this game, and I obviously excited to watch such a positive game going into a bye week and vacation mode.
Vacation, grab a nice drink, relax, enjoy the football this week, knowing that your team is 5-1 and nobody else is better than you. I don't think right now. Like there's teams that are on the same field as you, just nobody better, at least in my opinion. And that's about the most optimistic I think I've ever been since we started the show, Landon. I feel really good about this team.
It's the most optimistic I've ever heard you before. That's for sure.
By the way, did you know we're approaching episode 1000? We're going to hit it here in the next couple of weeks.
God, guys, thank you guys. Thank you all so much for sticking around with us for all this, even through our terrible shirts.
Terrible. These are great. I got this at the Andy Reid special.
This is a
all right. Shirt. Locked On Cowboys. Landon McCool at McCool BCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher. We'll see you guys next time.